The free agent crop of wide receivers is full of intrigue, but the valuation could be a bit tricky. We're going to sort things out as it relates to the free agent wide receiver market today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who make us your first listen every single day, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much.
Joe, the new premium position. Can we agree it's a premium position?
Is that up for debate?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't either.
Not anymore. Getting what, $30 million wide receivers? Probably going to get at least two more. What, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson? Contract extensions probably this offseason.
Right.
And they're going to go over Tyreek Hill's dollars. So new premium position, really intriguing list of some guys that are coming off rookie contracts who've been productive players. You've got some savvy vets that are sprinkled in here. You got some guys that maybe with better offensive infrastructure and quarterback play, maybe you get a little bit more boom from. And you get some guys that I would just be absolutely terrified of if I was trying to sign so some good value contracts, which makes it tough because the market is growing. So finding good value contracts can be a little challenging.
Well, let's hope this crop of free agents do better than last year's crop of free agents. It was rough, Kyle. I mean, your biggest AAV contract last offseason for a free agent went to Odell Beckham Jr., $15 million per. Then you had the amazing Allen Lazard deal at $11 million per.
Which everybody knew was a bad idea.
Right. Like were the best two free agent contracts last year, like Hopkins and Thielen?
Yes, they were.
I mean,
and credit to, and Nuke was really only a value because he waited as long as he did, right?
Yeah.
Everybody
someone's got to catch the ball in Tennessee.
They're like, oh well. His free agent tour was two teams long. It felt like.
Yeah, and like when the Chiefs and Bills were like, nah,
which is crazy,
right? You kind of felt like both teams might have been able to use them, right?
Right.
I mean, say what you want on Kansas City, they won the Super Bowl, right? Whatever they did was the correct answer, but
the Kansas City Chiefs have the one secret that you need to know. Winning the Super Bowl,
right?
And other teams hate it. But that secret is, you just need to have Patrick Mahomes.
That's all it is.
And a lot of the other stuff doesn't really matter about your roster. So miss me with, the Chiefs won with so-and-so and so-and-so. And these other teams are trying to add another good guy.
Got bad news for you.
So, sorry.
31 teams got the same problem. They don't have Patrick Mahomes.
So let's explore some of the guys that could potentially solve that problem of not having Patrick Mahomes for having big picture aspirations for your team.
There's three huge names here, Kyle Crabbs: Tee Higgins, Mike Evans, Michael Pittman Jr. I think those are the top of the market, the guys that I think all three will be north of 20 million per. I think probably Higgins, and I don't know, they might push 25 per for these players. My question with these top dogs, and I don't know that I'd include anyone else in this top dog conversation. I'd be curious if you do. Why would any of these three not be back on the teams that they played for last year?
I guess the long-term viability of T is the biggest question.
And I'm going to call a timeout.
Yeah, go ahead.
I like that you started there. Tee Higgins, right? The question
that's the best one.
The question Cincinnati has to ask themselves, are they really going to have $100 million a year passing offense between Burrow, Chase, and Higgins? I mean, AAV is going to be north of $100 million for those three players.
Yeah.
Like, can you do that? Should you do that?
I mean, they are going to be in a position, Cincinnati, where they can make this work in the here and now because they, with Joe Burrow's contract extension already done and Jamar Chase under contract, they got $60 million in cap space right now, according to Over the Cap. So you can do this now.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do this 3 years from now? I don't know that you can.
You worry about that in 3 years, though, right? Like,
I don't know, because Tee Higgins is going to want to. Tee Higgins being back is Tee Higgins on the franchise tag.
You don't think there's a long-term possibility here for them to work that out?
Probably not, because now you are talking about $110 million AAV across 3 players.
No doubt.
That's
like comfortably that. Comfortably.
Correct. That's a hard sell.
That's my concern with it. But if we talk like that's the identity of your football operation, you've been to the Super Bowl leaning on these things.
I don't know if you got a quarterback that's in the $50 million a year stratosphere, is in the conversation.
Yeah.
You pay your big wide receiver and you replace elsewhere. It's what Kansas City did when they had Kelsey and Tyreek Hill. And
they have.
Well, I understand, Mahomes. But dude, people want to put Joe Burrow in that conversation,
right?
And he's not Patrick Mahomes because nobody's Patrick Mahomes, but he's getting paid $52.5 million per season. 53, 55. What is it? 55?
Lots of money.
55 APY. So if you have that investment in Joe Burrow, yeah, I'm going to pay your number one wide receiver and I'm going to draft or find somebody else to take that other spot so that our roster has balance. Now, if you want to do it this year, yeah, bring Tee Higgins back on the franchise tag because Jamar Chase is still going to be on one of the years of his rookie contract. That's fine. But as far as doing a 5-year, $110 million contract plus for Tee Higgins, and then doing a Jamar Chase 5-year, $150 million contract, and Joe Burrow got $275, I don't know. I just don't see it.
Yeah. Mike Evans,
why would he be back?
Does he feel like a Buck for life? Is this the Levante David just like never going to not be on the Bucks?
I mean, there was trade requests, speculation, and dollar amounts, and wanting to get a contract extension done, and the Bucks wouldn't put him in that stratosphere of where he wanted to go.
You got to worry a little bit about how he ages, right? He's 31 years old. Big-bodied, catch-point player. Like, what Spotrac has the valuation here, I think, at like 4 years, $96 million. Should anybody give
19?
That to Mike Evans?
That's $19 million.
I think so.
He's like 19th in current APY on his current contract. I think you bring up a fair point. The aging, the players directly in front of him at 16.5 on his current deal are Tyler Lockett, Christian Kirk, Deontay Johnson, Chris Godwin, Mike Williams, Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore. Those are all between 17 and 21. I don't know. I feel like if he were to hit the open market, I could see a team putting him above 20 million per.
Should they, though?
This dude is turnkey production.
It depends
even
on the
at
length
this
for me
stage.
there. Depends on the length there for me. That's going to create a big problem for the Bucks if they don't bring him back.
The Bucks are also in a weird spot. They got $12 million in void money for 3 seasons of void dollars that were prorated out when they restructured them in 2022. So you could extend him and you could save. Oh God, I'm going to do the math. You could save like $7.3 million against the cap if you extend him. So that could help their cap situation. I don't know. It just feels like there was a discrepancy between where Mike Evans was and where they wanted to go. I think the easiest one to get done is going to be Pittman.
Yeah, they got space. They have a quarterback on a rookie deal. Pittman's been really good. Like, that's cut and dry. So maybe my question of why would any of these players not be on the team is a little more open than I thought, right? I mean, the total investment in Cincinnati in the passing offense and Mike Evans and where he's at in his career versus what Tampa has to offer, and if Baker's back and what that all looks like. But
Let me ask you this before we go to break.
Yep.
Who gets the highest APY?
T. Well, if
You
he's
think
on the
T?
franchise tag, that's problematic.
Right.
Pittman,
How high does Pittman go?
25.
You think Pittman gets 25?
Yeah.
You think they give him AJ Brown money?
Yep.
Okay. There's the current top distribution is 30 for Tyreek Hill, 28 Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp 26.7, AJ Brown 25. That's your top 4. Stephon Diggs and DK Metcalf are tied for 5th with 24.
Yeah, 25, but 2 years after all of those extensions. So
right.
That's what I think he comes in at.
Okay. I'll take the under on that.
I'm not shaking hands on an official bet there, but I would put it at 25.
Okay.
All right. We got other receivers to talk to here, so be sure to stick with us. DoorDash went all out for game day, and DoorDash stuff from all the Super Bowl ads to one lucky winner: cars, snacks, even tax software. DoorDash is the all-in-one app for your everyday needs, from restaurants and groceries to flowers and gifts. So next time you're running low on dinner ideas, pet supplies, or just time, you can get so much more than you realize delivered right to your front door with DoorDash. Perhaps you didn't have time this past weekend to hit the grocery store with all the Super Bowl commotion, or maybe your bar cart is mysteriously cleared out. You can stock back up for the weekend ahead with delivery from DoorDash. Check it out. Football season might be over, but we're in the thick of basketball games, the school year, and winter. I can think of a million reasons daily to order with DoorDash, so check it out. Hop on the app and make your day just a little bit easier.
All right. So we got the big dogs out of the way. No consideration for Calvin Ridley being amongst the big dogs?
Yeah, he's coming off a 1,000-yard season, right? I think he's a tick below here, in my opinion. He's 30, right? Like, that's weird. I don't think of him as 30, but he is. And I don't know. I think there's always going to be some questions there. I mean, with kind of how things went down in Atlanta, and I don't know. I don't think the same money's going to be there. I don't think he gets over 20 million. I don't.
I think he can be close. I think he's closer to 20 than he is to 15. I'm not shaking hands on a formal agreement there, because you didn't want to meet me on mine, but 15 is the Cortland Sutton, Hunter Renfrow, Odell Beckham, Christian Kirk got 18, Deontay Johnson 18.3. There really is not a lot of names that fall in that tier, 20 to $15 million APY. It's a pretty lean group. Mm-hmm. There's a lot between 20 and 25. There's much more between 15 and 10. But I think he falls in that little bit of a leaner bucket between, is where he's ultimately going to land.
And there's a situation here where if he resigns in Jacksonville, they give up a 2.
Mm-hmm. That's a stipulated pick.
There's a lot to think about it for the Jaguars.
In a good wide receiver class?
Yeah, so not only are you giving up a higher pick, you're committing cap dollars here to Calvin Ridley at age 30.
I'd probably just go younger.
I would, no doubt.
And save the pick.
Who's going to pay him?
Lots of teams could use wide receivers.
Yeah, we won't figure that out today, but yeah.
Here's where I'm at with wide receivers, though. Sorry to cut you off.
Yep.
After those 4, you're in a totally different stratosphere of what expectations should be for players. Like, I still think Calvin Ridley can be a high-volume part of a passing offense. Beyond Higgins, Pittman, Ridley, Evans. Who's the next vet that you're like, oh, maybe he can still go? I think we can get a lot of run in him, and he could be a primary piece of our passing offense.
When you say primary, do you think, is that north of 100 targets?
Yeah, like just objectively.
Yeah, I don't see another 100-target guy that I would want.
I think there's a very clear divide here after these names. And I think that's going to help the market of the 4 guys we talked about already. But now you're into, can you trust Michael Thomas to stay healthy?
No chance.
Is Hollywood Brown going to magically become a volume player after kind of just being a field spacing vertical threat for the majority of his career so far? Is Curtis Samuel going to capitalize on what was a good season this past year and recapture that after 2 very uneventful seasons in Washington on his new contract before that? Like, these are the questions we have to answer. Does Hunter Renfrow shake free? The Raiders cut him, put that name in the mix.
Tyler Boyd's another name, right? Like, Gabriel Davis is a name that I'm sure will have some attention on the market, but yeah, it gets a little bit challenging.
If Gabriel Davis didn't play in Buffalo, would there be 50% of the optimism for Gabriel Davis is what there is?
He's tough, man. He's tough for me. Had some really exciting highlight reel plays for sure. And of course the 4 touchdowns in the 13 seconds game against Kansas City, a game that I think everybody put a lot of emphasis in on the way they perceive Gabriel Davis. But as somebody who's watched every snap and evaluated him every single season, I can tell you there are some severe limitations with route running and separation, and a very high variance player at the catch point. And so I think the conversation is going to lead people to discussing him as a wide receiver too. And he's actually had good numbers relative to wide receivers too. But I worry about him going somewhere else and being, $13, $12 million a year receiver with expectations and potentially not having a quarterback like Josh Allen, who I think he benefited from with a lot of the off script stuff from Josh Allen. And I thought Gabe Davis maximized that. But if you're looking for a route winner or a space creator, consistent guy at the catch point, Gabe Davis isn't that, but I think someone's going to pay him.
Can I give you a take?
Yeah.
That's beyond Gabe Davis, because I don't want to sit here and just bludgeon Gabe Davis. We've been kind of in lockstep on what we think Gabe Davis is for a long time.
But I think a lot of people don't know that, Kyle.
Right. Yeah.
They don't. They're going to look and see he's got like 800 yards and 8 touchdowns every year and think, wow, and that was with Stephon Diggs. What if we get him in our offense? 4 touchdowns against the Chiefs. Like, that's how they're going to think.
The 4 touchdown game was 24 months ago, 25 months ago. Let it go. Let it go. I think here's my take. The 2 next most appealing wide receivers that are expiring contracts are both restricted free agents.
I don't even have my list available with restricted free agents. So who do you have?
It's Rashid Shaheed and Juwan Jennings.
Well, and they're in Shaheed's exclusive rights.
Right.
So he's not going anywhere.
Correct. Neither one of them's probably going anywhere.
Right.
Because
I would agree with you.
You're going to put at least a second round RFA tender on him.
Yeah.
And I'd be surprised in this wide receiver class if somebody gave him that. But those out of the names that are expiring contracts, those are the next 2 most interesting names for me after the top 6 or the top 4 that we did.
100 million%. Yes. No doubt about it.
Lordy Lou. Which leaves us where? Like, what's the middle class of this wide receiver market? Because I think we both agreed, like, Michael Thomas is probably not an upside play, but a stay away for both of us. And upside plays and stay away are coming next on the show. Is it?
No, the middle class, it's whether you like it or not, it's Gabe Davis, it's Tyler Boyd, it's Curtis Samuel. That's who it is.
KJ Osborn, would you put him in there?
Maybe. I mean,
because I think I'd rather have him than a few of the names you just mentioned.
Yeah, I would agree. But I think in terms of how the money's going to shake out, I bet you that he comes in lower than those guys.
Darnell Mooney.
He's got 1,000-yard season in the second season with who was the quarterback? Trubisky?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think there's an upside play there, which maybe is a good
right. Yeah, I was holstering him there, but
sorry, I'll shut up.
Where does that money come in? You know what I mean? Like that's what's going to be impossible to figure out. I think we're both we're nudging towards upside play conversation. So let's get to the upside play conversation. So be sure to stick with us. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner?
Yes.
Our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capabilities to take your adventure to the next level. The 2024 Nissan Rogue is the perfect drive for city drives and great escapes. Class exclusive Google built-in is your always updating assistant to call on for just about anything. Gone are the days of connecting your phone. Google Assistant, Google Maps, and Google Play Store are built right into the 12.3-inch HD touchscreen infotainment system. The 2024 Rogue is the perfect midsize crossover for your next adventure. The 2024 Nissan Armada will change what you expect from a full-size SUV. Picture a rugged 4x4 that can seat up to 8 in first-class luxury and style, tow bigger, and explore further in the 2024 Armada. Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com.
Upside plays and stay aways. This is a nice little spin towards a nod to your love to superlatives.
Yeah, thank you.
Because we can just kind of put these guys in out of the bucket. Guys, we got the list up. Maybe there's somebody here who you think can pop off a little bit, be a meaningful contributor. Maybe there's a name that's popped off in the past, maybe earned some money in the past that you're not interested in at all. So I'd ask you first for your first big upside play who's not Darnell Mooney.
Oh, okay.
No, I got one. We've got already tipped our hand with Darnell Mooney.
He's our upside play. Noah Brown. Noah Brown from the Houston Texans. Height, weight, speed guy, 6'2", 215 pounds. What is he, 28 years old? It feels like whenever he's gotten some opportunities, whether it was in Dallas or this past season with Houston, there's been some production there. We've never seen that consistently, but if I'm looking for a value play at wide receiver, a guy that's had a special teams pedigree as well, I think he's a pretty attractive option.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's somebody who you might be able to get a nice complimentary role carved out for. I would throw as an upside play relative to the expected cost based on the most recent contract that he had signed. But I would throw Nelson Aguilar out there as a guy who's been a consistent complimentary receiver. Look, I know there's a first-round pedigree here, and that always kind of puts the stain on your name when people bring up the name Nelson Aguilar, and Philly fans are beat red in the face with me right now because he had all those drops issues. I get it. But, like, Nelly signed for $3.25 million last year. Is that not an upside play if you've ever heard of one for the wide receiver market relative to the experience that he has had? Especially when you contrast that contract against Curtis Samuel coming off a contract that was $11.5 million. And granted, that was a deal that was signed 3 years ago, so I get it. But I think you just look at the experience. He can still run. You're not going to ask him to be a wide receiver 1 or probably a wide receiver 2. $3.25 million for the receiving production that he's given you for over his career. I think that's a great upside play economic-wise for a team that wants to pass the ball.
I got another one for you. DJ Chark. He one season with Carolina, and the fact that he had any production is pretty impressive based on the offense there. But he had some down the field moments for Carolina this past year. Had 5 receiving touchdowns, had a couple of bigger games throughout the course of the season. If you're looking for a vertical threat that can get down the field and make plays on the ball, like, there's a specialization to DJ Chark. But if you need that skill set, I don't think it's going to be overly expensive to add it. So there's another name for you.
How about Jalen Guyton?
If he stays healthy, yeah.
It's a guy that's had some, if he stays healthy is a huge qualifier there because he's missed a bunch of time the last 2 seasons. But 2020 and 2021, he put up almost 1,000 yards on those 2 seasons combined and averaged 18.3 yards per catch in 2020 when he was a pretty high volume guy relative to what the rest of his career looks like. So it's a guy that can run. It's a guy that has some explosive play down the field abilities. There's been some special teams involvement for him when he's been healthy as well. I think Guyton's a guy who is probably going to be a 1-year deal, the special teams type contract, not more than a couple $1 million. Could be a really nice vertical passing game option in the same way that, like, I don't know, I think about where Hollywood Brown's been at his best and what he might fetch compared to Jalen Guyton. There's natural risk that you're buying into as far as the durability and availability of Guyton, but I think that's a nice alternative if you want to go with a backup plan that might be cheaper for that kind of role.
There's a guy that I just find myself always intrigued with, and that's Devin Duvernay from the Baltimore Ravens. You know, they've got a world of problems with expiring contracts. I feel like he can hit the market. Obviously, like I think most people have become more familiar with him for what he's done as a returner, where he's really dynamic.
Yep.
But I just wonder, what does he look like in a different offense with a different quarterback? I don't think that, for as good as Lamar is, a 2-time NFL MVP and all that, like I'm not sure that he's a quarterback that receivers go to and like their production is maximized, right? I think that's just a true statement. And Devin Duvernay somewhere else, like I'm curious, you know, I mean, like you want to do some things horizontally at times with your spacing, and I think Duvernay can be an asset there, but like there's a competitive nature about Duvernay, and he's very athletic, at least straight line, that he makes an intriguing option for me as a, you know, he's younger and this is, you know, he's coming out of his rookie deal and has had some explosive playmaking. It's just, you know, how much more can you unlock there? I'd be curious to find out.
I think we both acknowledge KJ Osborn.
Yeah.
Is on here as far as guys whose names we've already invoked. Over the last 3 seasons, he averages like 54 receptions, 610 yards, and 5 touchdowns the last 3 seasons on average.
Yep.
Pretty good. And guy got a lot of run this past year. 73% offensive snaps in each of the last 2 seasons. So a lot of football that he plays for you too. And then the other one that we mentioned was Darnell Mooney, as far as upside plays based off his track record and route running ability. How about some stayaways?
Josh Reynolds, last shout out. He's been very quietly, just kind of like a consistent, like
our guy,
just 70 target guy for an offense. I think he'd be pretty solid. The stay away list, Kyle, I mean, we can spend some time here, but like, can we be done? Can we be done with Julio Jones? Can we be done with Randall Cobb?
Yes, I think that's a great place to start, is the age. Like, maybe somebody give you Slater a contract because he's special teams demon, but he's 39 years old. Like, or Slater done. You just get a ride off in the sunset now and with Bill and be done. But yeah, the next oldest wide receiver combo, Julio Jones 35, Marquise Goodwin 34, Randall Cobb 34. We're probably done here, right?
We should be. You can't possibly sign one of those players and feel like you're going to get count on anything from them.
I got one for you.
All right.
Can we be done with Chase Claypool?
Some of us are, but
can
yes.
we? Well, yeah, we're all. This show's done with Chase Claypool, but obviously had the early career production in Pittsburgh, where Mike Tomlin seems to keep every frustrating player situation under lock and key. And then he goes to Chicago and it gets super toxic. And then he gets traded to Miami and doesn't pick up the playbook. And it's a more complex playbook. And I get that. Injuries at wide receiver kind of force him into a bigger role down the stretch at the end of the season because they have to play somebody. He drops a touchdown in the end zone that was a gimme against Baltimore and a loss. He runs the wrong route on the game clinching and division clinching loss to Buffalo week 18. Where he's supposed to run to a spot, and he rounds it off at the top and drifts. So he's not in the right spot to contest a throw that had to be thrown early to try to throw to a spot. He was inactive, a healthy scratch at times in season for Miami after they traded for him. I think he was their hedge on Eric Ezukama, who they drafted and had a neck injury that popped up from a previous injury. So they didn't have that big body guy in the wide receiver room. And he did nothing with it. We're done here. We're done.
Is the league done? He's 26, big, and ran a 4.3.
Go ahead.
All right, I hear you.
You're going to sign him to a 1-year vet minimum contract is what you're going to sign him to. Or at least you should. And if you sign him to more than that, then shame on you. I'd be signing him looking to convert him to tight end.
Right. Like I'm sitting here looking at the list. It's like, when does he just get on the little Jordan Humphrey plan, you know?
Right.
Oh, little Jordan out there playing 40% of the snaps. Now, I think him and Sean Payton might have some history that keeps him around, but like he's going to stick around. We're done with him, but I don't think the league's going to be done with him.
Who else you done with?
Um,
You done with Trent Sherfield?
No, here's the thing about Trent Sherfield. Like,
I like Trent.
if you can just compartmentalize him as a 1 year, $1.7 million deal and like remove the idea that he's going to become like a consistent player for you, like that's fine. But he can take snaps and play special teams and block. But you just thinking that he was going to parlay what he did in Miami into something else was the rest of his career is who he is.
Right.
Not the one season in Miami. The rest of the seasons speak for themselves.
Are we done with Paris Campbell? We
should
be done with
4.3 speed, Kyle Crabbs. Yeah, I'm done.
I get it. 20 receptions for 104 yards and 2 touchdowns and getting a $5 million cap charge this year. I'm done. I'm done here. It pains me to say, but Sterling Shepard with the injuries.
Yeah.
It's probably low ceiling here. Anybody else? LaVisca.
I was going to bring up LaVisca Chenault. Like, has he ever been in a position to actually produce? Not really, but should we be interested? Van Jefferson, like, I don't think it's going to happen for Van Jefferson.
Right.
Good route runner at Florida and all that, but
that's probably my list.
Yeah.
I think I've exhausted. Oh, you know what? Quez Watkins, Philly. I thought he showed some nice stuff in 2022.
Yeah, he has some production, but then the last couple of years has been a bunch of nothing and bad drops, right?
Yeah. So we're done there. That means we're done here. Kyle Crabbs, Joe Marino, Locked On NFL Scouting. Hope you guys enjoyed this dive foray into the wide receiver class. Joe, we have the weekend to figure out how the heck we're going to do the follow-up show. Which is
figure it out.
Maybe matchmakers. I'd love to do something different. But we have the weekend to watch a little bit of tape on some of these guys. Figure out how we want to present kind of the deep dive, nitty-gritty into some of the top names on the market. So you have that to look forward to on Monday. I'm Kyle Crabbs. He's Joe Marino. We are Locked On NFL Scouting. Find us on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Make it a great rest of your day. We're out of here.